Welcome to the Online Graduate Research Forum for Spring 2017. My name is Jason Dusterhoft, your presenter. I am a graduate student in the Masters of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies program in the Department of Occupational Workforce and Leadership Studies. The title of my research study is Leadership and Executive Police Management. Objective 1. Focusing on several areas, increase my cultural awareness, assisting in gaining a large-scale understanding of the issues and ways to solve them. By contacting leaders in different agencies throughout the United States and the world, allow me to gain insight and perspective and learn about best practices that agencies use. This knowledge can be focused on, but not limited to, learning about diversity, cultural sensitivity, understanding issues that require in-depth review, such as leadership and having an increased input base for new officers. The millennials have a different culture that is changing agencies all over the United States, and an understanding of this different approach helps with cross-cultural awareness. Intellectual development included several fronts to include field trips, site visits for city departments, and talking with leaders in management. Events provided insights on how managers lead and how they solved issues in a live environment. Attending City Hall events and council meetings showed how the process works for leaders and the difficulties they face in obtaining consensus and dealing with conflict. Short interviews with different types of leaders grew my ability to see all styles of leadership and increased my view of how to solve issues and better ensure outcomes for my area of responsibility. For career exploration, reviewing different publications for leadership positions helped understand what is being sought and the qualifications needed for a police chief. Reviewing postings for what positions and talking with different human resource divisions detailing out what positions require and possible ways to improve my understanding of what to strive for. Interviewing heads of agencies and understanding what is expected of them and the challenges they face contributed my understanding on what career path is more suited for my talents. Having conversations with executive recruiters provided knowledge on what is needed for certain positions of interest and how to obtain those positions. The need for this practicum was to find out what is needed to become a great leader and police chief. Opportunity for cross-cultural. Dealing with recruiting officers of different backgrounds and cultures is something a chief will always struggle with. Finding the sweet spot is different in each community to meet the needs of that entity. In interviewing new officers, I found many like Austin for this reason, that the Austin Police Department has so many different cultures recruiting. When looking at smaller agencies, it becomes a larger challenge to recruit effectively to mimic the diversity of the community to the diversity of the department. Officers felt like Austin, as a city, and police department were very open to all cultures. This type of diversity can help a chief with understanding the community because they have officers they can go to directly to help with solutions for each diverse population. I have found personally that increasing the female numbers in the department has benefited the department greatly. Having a woman on many scenes has a positive effect that just the presence and voice of a female can calm a situation. Taking out some of the physical portions of the recruiting program helped allow more applicants to go through this process. This previous concentration on the physical needs to become a police officer were unrealistic for women and did not have a direct correlation to how they affect of being a police officer. Austin is and has been a progressive city, but many other cities are not open to changing the diversity in their own department. Intellectual development, the threat. When discussing leadership in the city of Austin with agency leaders and managers, it was clear that many agreed the city has been stagnant for over a year. This is due mainly to not having permanent heads over city departments because of the vacancy city manager for a year. This caused many acting heads of departments to not make change because they either felt they didn't have the power to or felt the status quo needed to happen until the new city manager was picked and gave direction. The new city manager was recently appointed a few months ago, and hopefully this will now start to fall into place. The acting police chief has been in the interim position for over a year, but still continued to make changes which allowed the department to move forward. This helped the agency not stagnate or fall victim to the status quo like the departments in other cities. I took that you must be assertive in advocating for change and take lead even when others fail to do so. Finding out that some felt that not pushing change or even tweaks that they knew to be positive for their organization showed how this kind of leadership can affect the city negatively. Talking with leaders in different departments allowed me to see behind the curtain and how many felt about different leadership styles. I am confident these discussions will have helped me become a better leader and chief of police in the future. Career exploration and opportunity. When looking at the position of police chief, one has to look at what they will need to be successful. What has to be in their toolbox? One of the things that many leaders and chiefs find that their success is in how they grow their followers into leaders. To have an organization left in a better situation than leaders found it is that to ensure the organization is left in a better situation as well. It can be lost on many leaders because it is easy to get so laser focused on immediate problems that focus on daily growth of leaders is lost. Mentoring is one way that can be scheduled for each level of leadership to improve others. By scheduling this meeting, it forces time to be given to mentorship which otherwise could be lost due to scheduling items. Through my interviews of leaders, one advised having leadership exercises similar to assessments which we use in promotions. This type of problem solving helps a leader get around the known landmines that many don't even know about. This isn't just role-playing, it is using real past problems and going through how to best solve the situation and what was done in the actual scenario. This improves past decisions and how to deal with future similar problems. I have found this approach to be very helpful when dealing with situations in real time, because you have already thought about ways to help many of these situations. Replacing the word. The textbook Police Leadership and Management by Margaret Mitchell and John Peter Casey was published in 2007. This concentrated on leadership in the field of policing, specifically upper management to include the chief of police. Focusing on the ever-changing landscape of policing and community interaction changes how police focus on issues. Developing policing as a true profession is a mandate for all chiefs, thus ensuring standards such as education, training, and management are required for upper levels of leadership. While policing in the past dealt with a very black and white perspective and approach, today's style requires collaboration, listening, community involvement, and most of all, partnerships to create a positive experience for the public and the officer. Evidence-based policing is also something that is gaining traction in law enforcement. This is the practice of using research to find out if police are affecting crime. International policing and best practices has also become something that is assisting agencies to not make the same mistakes and learn from agencies all over the world on how to reduce crime, create positive interactions, and use cultural issues to their advantage. Reviewing cultural partnerships in policing and communities increases the effectiveness of partnerships in policing. Chiefs must focus on change and how to make it positive. In Lincoln on Leadership, it helped mitigate my confusion on what exactly was needed to become successful in the area of being a police chief. Knowing specific tactics such as being consistent yet flexible, innovative yet patient, and calculating, and giving leaders in the organization the tools to become successful but not fearing removing them if they are unsuccessful. Lincoln started something that many leaders continue to do today. He would get angry with someone, write a letter expressing his emotions, and then never send it. This is something very appropriate with emails today. In police services, leadership and management perspective showed that when polled, police managers hadn't thought of themselves as having a public profile. This can be a large threat if not done at all or if done incorrectly. The suggestions given were become part of the public by taking every opportunity to get to know your public. This would mean even the segments that don't typically reach out to the police. This should be done by getting out into the public and create areas for dialogue. Using local institutions and businesses are also a great way to build relationships that will assist leaders in understanding the public that they serve. Strength. In Lincoln on Leadership, one of the most foremost things a leader could do is get out and meet with the troops. This is still important in today's police departments in that when a leader gets out of the office and talks with officers, civilians, and supervisors, they're able to gain the trust of the front line. When a leader just sits in an office and gets filtering information, it can lead to a disconnect from what really is occurring on the street. Having that human contact with them can lead to critical discussions if the people trust the leader to finding out what things are working and what things are not. I have always had the ability to make show-ups and through talking common sense prodded out things that officers would not tell their supervisors. I feel that this was because I was able to make them comfortable enough to point out areas that were not working. It was always important to me to immediately follow up on those issues and get back with whoever asked the question. This type of trust talks with follow-up can spread the word that it is okay to have crucial conversations. There would be times I would change things based on what I was able to find out or go back to and explain why I am not able to change something. The important part of this is getting the trust from your people. Weakness. What exactly is needed to become a police chief? I have learned quite a bit on what city managers, city councils, and mayors desire in the pick for the chief of police, specifically having a bachelor's degree, but many applications state having a master's is crucial and places you on the top of the list. While having a formal education is imperative, it is also critical to have specific long-term schools. I have attended the 3-week intense Senior Management Institute for Police, which was taught by Harvard professors and guest speakers. Recently, I have completed the Federal Bureau of Investigation's National Academy in Virginia. These 2 long-term schools are listed as top requirements to become an applicant for mid to large-sized cities. Reviewing the top requirements, my leadership abilities show I have knowledge of these high liability issues, changing community and workforce values, community policing strategies, and budget resources. I have many of these, but will need to find ways to present specific knowledge of them and ways to improve in these areas. Opportunity. In a department of over 1,800 sworn officers and the 11th largest police agency in the United States, the cultures in the department range from 21 years old to 60 years plus. This is a wide-ranging gap that each group carries their own thoughts and ideas about work, family, and ideas on how to police. It was very interesting to talk with millennials who were just coming on the job and how they viewed the department, as opposed to someone like me who has been with the department for over 23 years. The millennials I had talked with were very excited, like many beginning officers, but they felt more of a part of the community than the department. This isn't meant in a negative way, but they felt it was more of a bond with the community they served and lived in than an allegiance to the department. I also found out that many viewed this position as not something as they may necessarily want to do for 23 years to reach the retirement. Many viewed this as a stepping stone to a different position, and that they were not tied to policing positions like many in the past, and I was. I was impressed that many were very comfortable asking questions back to me, where 23 years ago I couldn't imagine asking questions to my commander. I truly feel like this generation will push policing to a new positive place in society in that they want to think out of the box and are not afraid to make suggestions on how to get the results needed. threat. When discussing leadership in the City of Austin with agency leaders and managers, it was clear that many agreed the city had been stagnant for over a year. This new city manager was recently appointed and is going to start making decisions. One of these decisions is who he will find for a new chief. This can become a large threat in that picking the wrong person for this job could create a bad position in the leadership of the department. In reality, the reading and the discussions I completed during the practicum showed that this is a continual process. One must continue to be open and engaged in learning, which will make them better executives and leaders. There are significant accomplishments during anyone's career, but understanding that no accomplishment defines you, that when you stop you can be a more effective leader. You must continue to learn 100%. In the future, a practicum of this type should include a higher level of mentorship. I would suggest that taking an extended amount of time to be given and doing what would mimic an internship with leaders in the city and the department. I learned so much from talking with leaders, and I believe this would be beneficial to the future practitioner to point out gaining more insight on how decisions are made and why. The reading was important, but in my opinion excessive. While I was able to get great ideas from case studies, much of the rest seemed repetitive. The actions taken during the practicum, such as discussions on or creating documents, revealed more about how to be successful in being an executive leader. This varies with each practitioner and each practicum, but my experience, hands-on learning, would be more suitable for this type of practicum. On the YouTube page below, please indicate your anonymous preference for this practicum by clicking on one of these two icons. Also, post your comments or questions in the YouTube comments section below. I will respond to your inquiries posted between April 6th and 17th through this webpage.